The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners. Medical House presents Bermuda's most viewed and listened to talk show. The Daily Hour starts now.
It's Tuesday, the 10th day of November in 2020. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Carla Zool. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. If you haven't already, share the link, start a watch party, just get the conversation out there to your network. We have another good one for you today. A lot of chat about 5G. Different theories. I'm not going to call them conspiracy because people have a right to their theories. But the chief executive of the Bermuda Regulatory Authority, Mr. Denton Williams, will be stopping by to discuss the public consultation that will be going on. And the Daily Players remember when. So Carla is guessing a history question. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh, Carla. I think you'll get this one. It's just funny that, well, you've been on a roll lately, so I don't even know why I'm laughing at you. You've been on a roll lately, so I think you'll get
it. So tired of being cyberbullied, but anyway,
is someone with the short jokes trying to talk about being cyberbullied?
You know, I watched that clip about 7 times, up to about 15 minutes ago, and burst out laughing every time. I kill myself, you know.
I missed the funny part in it. I do. I really do. A lot to discuss this morning, though, Carla. We have, the vaccine supposed to be 90% that Pfizer and someone else is dropping. Why are you shaking your head? No.
I'll wait till you ask the question. It ain't happening.
Go ahead. I want to hear what's not happening.
I am what they call them out here, vaxxers or something, right? I am a pro. Whatever they call it, I believe in vaccinations, right? My children have all been vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. I believe in it. But they are not going to vaccinate me or my minor children no time soon. And you talk about conspiracy theorists, they're saying that they may have make it mandatory in the schools, or I tell Naeem, because the Johnny, my eldest one, he is anti-vaccination, so I think he'll be easier to say no as such. I said, Naeem, if anyone tries to tell you come here, and no, you're not doing it, because I think it's too soon, and I want to see what are the other ramifications or potential ramifications health-wise for people who have it before I consent for me or my children. But now there's a little whisper saying that they may make it mandatory if you want to travel overseas. So then that adds another spin to it as well. Not impressed.
So if you had to get a vaccination to be able to travel, you won't get one?
Today, as it stands, I would say no. I really want to come home for Christmas. However, I still say it's too soon. Thank God for technology, FaceTime, Skype, and all that other good stuff. No, I would suck it up and not travel. I mean, I'm not a big traveler anyway, so I wouldn't miss it not getting on a plane for a year or two.
Well, what's your biggest reservation in regard to the vaccination?
Potential side effects. So in another group, I said, I want to see if I'm going to grow an extra arm. I know that's being extreme, but what are the side effects? I mean, I have children who don't have children. Will it make males sterile or females sterile? Being black is another aspect of it, and they've been begging for what they call BAME people to be experiments as such.
Explain BAME for those who are not familiar in the British.
Black and minority and other ethnic groups.
Black, Asian, I believe,
minorities and ethnics, right? So to me, just a few weeks ago, they were asking for BAME people to come forward in the UK, and now they're saying it may be a vaccine available in January. So I just want to see what potentially can happen. And like I said, in a group that I'm out here in the UK in, I social distance, I'm clean. So not having the vaccine is not a big deal for me at this point, or my children. We don't bounce around in people's houses. People don't come to ours. So we're pretty safe. So I see no reason to rush it. But I eventually I'll be all for it. I've been for every other vaccine. So
indeed. I want to get the audience opinion. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about Pfizer, and I believe it was Pfizer and BioNTech. They announced yesterday that they have a vaccine and that was more than 90% effective in preventing infection in volunteers that they had. What are your thoughts? Are you all in favor? Like, are you all gonna get this vaccine? Are you gonna wait for it? What's going on? What's the situation? Are you all interested? Are you anti-vaxxers? I understand your point, Carla, and I don't like to be on the fence. You know me, I take a side. But I had never had a flu shot until I had to get my residency in the US, and I had to get one. And things changed because who's to say someone who gets residency next year, they may have to get one, right? Things change. Will I get one voluntarily? Probably not. But depending on circumstances, like for instance, if it came down to having a job or doing work, I don't. Let me go back because I don't like the term conspiracy theory. For me personally, anyone can use it all they want because people are entitled to their theories, especially if they believe they have facts to back them up. But there's just not enough information for me to say, oh, I'm just going to willingly get it. And I know some people saying, well, it's 90%. The FDA only needs 50%. I think we also need to be careful where the information is coming from, right? Nobody wants to be an experiment, right? Leslie White, she says, if the vaccine is proven safe, I take it. I have asthma. Makes sense. And again, I totally understand those who are for and against. Again, folks, you know me, I do not like to be on the fence. I don't. But I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I think it's one of those things people have to make their decisions based on what they believe is best for them. Jennifer, Carla.
Eventually, we will get the vaccine, but we won't be in the first couple of rounds. I need more results first.
Mm-hmm. Nachika Trot says, I agree with Carla. Is it too early? Not sufficient studies at this time. Leslie White says, COVID could be deadly to me. And that goes back to her original comment about having asthma. Kathy Bromby says, how is lockdown control of your freedoms going over there, Carla? Well, she touched on that last week, but go ahead, Carla.
Well, see, it's not a lockdown like the first one. The first lockdown in March was severe. This lockdown seems to give people a bit of liberties. Like there were hardly any, for example, takeaway restaurants open. I live above many of them. They're all open. People seem to be roaming around. You couldn't exercise at one point. You can now, and you can even be with someone outside of your family. So I think they're like everywhere else in the world, they're trying to balance between keeping people comfortable and trying to contain it. But I do think that they just need to take a decision because children can still go to school. So my oldest is in a school with 1,000 other kids. So and they don't have to wear masks in the classroom. They only wear them walking around the halls. But every day I'm getting a text to say that it's a new COVID positive in the school. So it's difficult. It's even difficult to manage your children because if my 14-year-old says, Mama, can I go to the park? And I'm like, I don't want you to go because blah, blah. It's like, but I'm in school for 1,000 kids a day and I don't know where they. So I just think they need to be firm. I still don't think they're firm enough out here.
Interesting times indeed. Let's give a round of applause to this next commenter.
I know.
Definitely happy to see brother Talent Clark commenting, but I hadn't realized that we weren't Facebook friends. So when I got a friend request yesterday, I was excited, and that's because we asked people to for the praying people to pray and others to keep him in their thoughts, as Talent was in a serious accident about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So I think I speak for many, Talent, when I say I'm happy to interrupt our conversation and thank you for commenting first off, but we're happy that you're able to comment and be a part of this show.
Yes.
We are very happy, trust me. So if there's anything we can do, please reach out. You have our information, but we are happy to have you contributing once again.
I like how he discriminates against short people. I mean, he favors short people because he's friend request. But anyway, but I'm so glad you're okay or you're doing better. So bless.
Whatever.
I forgive you.
Shorty by nature. But Ellen says it's too soon. Vaccinations for the flu have been out for a while, and the potential for them to have negative effects is less. COVID is brand new, less than a year. There's no way I will seek a vaccine until there's more known out there. But here's the thing, and I don't tell me if this information's out there, folks. I haven't read it, but with the flu, I think you have to get one every year, different strains of flu. Is this a one-time thing, or is this something that you would have to get over? That's another question I didn't know the answer to. Esther Earl Trott says, I do not want the vaccine at this present time. It has not been proven yet. James Burt says, I'll take the approved, safe, and effective vaccine. David Mike R. Wilson, Carla.
I'm all for vaccines, but won't be the first in line to get this one, mainly because there's nothing concrete as of yet. And real quick, when we were on mid-break, the children were on mid-break, I got this text from Naeem's school. Naeem's in year 6, and it was like, you must answer ASAP. We need to get permission. It didn't say option. It's like, we need to get your permission to give him a flu jab when he returns to school. You have to reply today. I thought that was bizarre.
That sounds like spam.
No, but it was real. It was from the school. Didn't even answer, and again gave him the warning: don't let anybody jab you, shoot it up your nose, because they do the spray one too with anything. We'll ride out this season.
That is crazy. Amanda Kelly, Carla.
No vaccine for me unless I absolutely have to. Have heard they are putting a chip in it. Don't know if it's true. I read that this morning as well.
That's crazy. Robert Durham says, I've never been vaccinated, but I'm considering this COVID vaccine after it's been tested for a while. Deshaun says, I'd eat a Mac plant before. So I can't believe that McDonald's is coming out with a plant-based burger called McPlant. Like, whoever was in that group, marketing, whatever they call them, a processed plant-based burger at McDonald's. Jackie Grillo says, big pharma power is scary, so I need to do more research first. I agree. Now, keep in mind, I worked in New York City for quite a bit, and the office building I worked in was right next to Pfizer. And I didn't know much about what this was. I mean, I just was not my interest, but there were always people outside looked like they were picketing about something there.
Doesn't Pfizer make the little blue pill?
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know much. They could possibly. That's probably what people were protesting against. My husband's a little too eager, or I don't know. I honestly don't know. Landria says, unless I'm forced for travel reasons, she's not basically going to take it. I get it, man. I get it. Kenneth says, vaccine is not for me. We discussed it while waiting at FedEx yesterday. I won't be a test mouth. It's too early. No, sir. I get it, folks. I do. You all. I don't like to be on the fence about stuff like this. I don't. I think the information we've been given by media outlets, it's just not enough to say, Carla makes some valid points. Like,
the people though who because I'm, like I said, I'm in a UK group out here in the neighborhood, and it had 200 and something comments in less than 3 hours. And the people that were for it were mainly saying, I haven't seen my nana, for 9 months, or my elderly mom hasn't been able to go at the house. So for some people, it's a very emotional decision. People are like, I'm tired of lockdown. It's affecting my mental health. Give me the vaccine and let me get on with my life. So it's really a balance.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. No, the question is, now you mentioned something earlier about some people discussing whether it could be mandatory or not, right? If it were to become mandatory, how do people go about challenging this, right? Is it something, I mean, when things are put forth, you will have people that march and protest. But eventually, in most cases, the powers that be continue what they're doing. I'm not trying to fearmonger, I'm really not. But if that's the case, if they say, well, based on the studies, this is what people need to do, then again, how does the public react to that? Because I'll use the US again. They can easily say, well, if you can provide documentation, well, let's use just an event like an arena. If you want to go to a basketball game, they may say you need to have a card to scan that you're vaccinated. Like this could change the way we live, and I mean that's already been impacted the way we live due to COVID. But some people literally believe that if we don't adhere to this, then we'll be living how we've been living all for the last 10 months or so.
But now you say that, you're making me think about people who, and I know you're one of them, a proponent against like locking down because it impedes on liberties and stuff. And listening to you, I'm like, it's starting to become more clear. It's like one jab or whatever could potentially dictate my movement if I choose not to have it. And that to me is deep. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Let's get to the news. When we come back, we actually have to touch on a hot topic as of yesterday evening. We'll have the chief executive from the regulatory authority to discuss 5G. He'll be coming on, I want to say, at about the 30-minute mark of this show. But when we come back from the news, we'll discuss the government loan to the workers at Fairmont Southampton. How's that? Ready for the news, Carla?
Yep.
All right.
There were 2,235 test results received by Bermuda's Ministry of Health, which were taken between the 6th and the 8th of November, and 5 were positive for COVID. The most recent cases were classified as important, with details as follows. One returning resident who arrived on American Airlines Flight 308 from Miami on the 1st of November, who tested positive on their day 4 test. Another on the same flight on the 5th of November, who tested positive on their arrival test, having had a negative pre-departure test. Another resident who arrived on the same flight on the 29th of October, who tested as a close contact, having a negative pre-departure test, arrival test, and day 4 test. One visitor who arrived on the same flight on the 6th of November, who tested positive on arrival. And one visitor who arrived on Air Canada 942 from Toronto on November 6th, who tested positive on arrival, again, after having had a negative pre-departure test. So far, 214 people have confirmed COVID. There have been 214 confirmed total cases in Bermuda. The British Airways flight to London this coming Thursday, will be the last from Bermuda to the UK for nearly a month, an airline representative recently confirmed. The flight to Gatwick Airport takes off a day after the last BA plane arrives from London, before the airlink is suspended on a temporary basis. Flights to and from the UK on British Airways are set to resume on December 11th. Catherine Wilson, the airline's global public relations manager for the Americas, confirmed that the temporary suspension of the London-Bermuda route was purely linked to the UK lockdown that began last Thursday in response to a spike in COVID-19 cases. Turning to news in the UK, the NHS is ready to start providing the new coronavirus vaccine as fast as safely possible, UK's Health Secretary Matt Hancock has said. Asked whether it could be available by Christmas, he said it was absolutely a possibility, but he expected the mass rollout in the first part of 2021. He said vaccination clinics would be open 7 days a week, and he was giving GPs an extra £150 million, but he urged people to be patient. We just don't know how many people will need to be vaccinated before life can return to normal. On Monday, early results from the world's first effective coronavirus vaccine showed it could prevent more than 90% of people from getting COVID. The vaccine has been developed by pharmaceutical companies Pfizer and BioNTech and is one of 11 vaccines that are currently in the final stages of testing. Jamal, who are the people in your neighborhood? In your neighborhood? In your neighborhood?
I know the tune, but I cannot relate.
There are very few of us who have never been impacted by Sesame Street in our childhood years. So it would only make sense that Sesame Street Day was created to celebrate the tremendous influence that this maverick television program has had upon our lives. Sesame Street Day was first established in 2009 to celebrate the 40th anniversary of its original broadcast. While initiated in New York, it should come to no great surprise that this occasion is now recognized by tens of thousands of people from around the world. In fact, the number of followers continue to grow each year. Turning to weather with a mix of sun and clouds, Bermuda's high today is expected to be 76, is expected to be 57 in Las Vegas and 54 in Leeds, UK. And on a programming note, don't forget to tune in to the full100.com tonight for Nighttime Jams, featuring some of your favorite romantic classics. That's your Daily Hour news break.
Damn, Sesame Street. I mean, I knew who Big Bird was, but is that the show Ernie and Bert's on?
Do you believe the theory?
I don't. Anyway, it's full100radio.com, not full100, folks. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this message.
Good day, Medical House Doris speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare.
I found myself being a caregiver. Even though I was a nurse, I still needed help on, what was available in hospital beds and all that kind of equipment, and I knew where to go. I went to Medical House.
Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products. These same professional quality products are available to you for home health care.
I was very pleased with Medical House and the help they gave me when I most needed it.
Your experience with Medical House is about getting your needs met, but we also try to provide knowledge to help you through whatever you're experiencing.
Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there is private parking right outside the door.
I would recommend them to anybody.
Call or visit Medical House today.
We've already sung the praises of Welch's famous grape juice, so healthful and refreshing, a truly great family favorite. So with the festive season fast approaching, remember to stock up on Welch's sparkling juice cocktails, flavorful and thirst-quenching, another celebration of the greatness of the grape. The Welch's White, Red, and Rosé are all wonderful on their own, but for a special seasonal treat, try Welch's sparkling juice cocktail in festive punch recipes, garnished with cinnamon sticks or fresh cranberries. All non-alcoholic and also festive. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. It's the Daily Hour. Carlos Zoom, myself, Jamal Hartman, brought to you by the great folks at Medical House and Lindo's. Don't forget, if you don't or know someone who does not have internet access, they can catch us on channel 82 if they have One Communications. Also on the Full 100 Radio app, which is available for Android and Apple devices. Want to touch on the government loan, Carla. Did you read about that?
No, I will pull it up now.
So apparently, people are quite upset. It looks like the government is going to assist the workers of Fairmont Southampton who were waiting on their redundancy pay from the hotel. Right. So it's a loan to employees, which is the amount due to them, which will require repayment once sums are paid to them by the company, which is GenCom. So it's a loan. I think I guess it was reported different ways. People thought that government was covering the cost, but it's the loan until GenCom can pay them. Yeah, but I mean, I don't personally have anything wrong with that. I think, I mean, I'm pretty sure people are going to pay the government back once they get that money, right? I mean, there are consequences for that if you don't. No?
Listen, the reason I said is because for me, that's kind of sticky because it's only giving a short-term solution to long-term pain. Because if they're giving them a loan, which they're expecting for them to pay back from the monies received, they're still going to be out of a job and not have money at some point. So that's the way I'm looking at it. From the further end of it, it's like, do they have yet another responsibility on top of the stress of not having a job, meaning paying the loan back?
Well, I think this is about making sure they get the money they're owed, not necessarily about a job based on what I'm seeing. I think the government is doing the right thing and saying, you know what, we'll pay you. GenCom obviously probably met with government. This is not, I'm saying.
Oh, GenCom will pay them back. I thought you meant, no. I got you.
No. So the government's going to loan the money to the employees. Then GenCom will pay the employees and the employees will pay government back.
Okay, that is how I understood
it.
Okay.
So let's go comments. Nachika Truck, Carla.
What happens if workers refuse default to pay back money, or a worker who has left the island in the case of a guest worker, which is believed to make up about 50% of the South P staff? If the government paid the guest worker, will South P not pay the worker redundancy and give that money to government? That's another angle to look at, yeah?
Valid question, Truck. Valid question. Robert Durham says, I think that's a great thing. That's what government should be doing to help the people. And it's a loan agreement. Well, James Burt says, what are the loan agreements, though they haven't said? And we can only go by what's reported, right? Right, James? We can only go by what's put out there. And I'm just reading the statement that was on one of the news websites. But I think, as Robert Durham says here, is these people need the money immediately. It's money that was it's money that was owed to them that was not paid. So I think that's taken care of, priority number one right there. Carla, I don't know. You have the answer. How long were the severance packages for South P workers?
No, Sheikah, no idea.
Oh, I don't have that answer. Tamara Richardson, my apologies, says, interesting indeed. I get the Karen aspect, but how successful is the government at getting payment for payroll tax, social insurance, and other outstanding debts? Well, this is relevant, and it's relevant because I don't disagree with the government loaning the money if they're loaning it and GenCom. I mean, would it make sense for GenCom to pay the government directly for each employee rather than paying them, the employees?
I think that makes sense, to be honest. And hopefully they would get like a one lump sum payment because they were going to pay all the employees out. So the money's there. So I would think that's why I was asking for clarity, because I would think government pays these people, GenCom gives them the lump sum right back.
Yeah. And getting back to Tamara, what she says is we don't have to look far to see when government didn't get payments back for things like payroll tax, social insurance, and so on. So it's relevant. Deborah Leah Joel Bell says GenCom should pay government back directly to safeguard persons defaulting on the individual pays. I thought that as well. I did think that. Terry K says it should be on the hotel to pay it back to government. Carla loved that background. Let me touch on that. Break away from the serious conversation real quickly. Look, Carla's got this fancy beach. She knows people in Bermuda that come from where we come from. Marsh Folly. We didn't have no beaches. We can't.
You know where this is, though, right?
No, where is it?
It's actually taken by my cousin Wendy Frith. It's Horseshoe Bay after one of these storms. So she had put it in the family chat to show how much the erosion had taken place, and I just loved it. It's Horseshoe Bay, right at that entrance.
Yeah, we didn't go up Horseshoe Bay.
But I love sand. I am probably the only person from North Shore that loves sand, because you're not teasing when I jump off the dock here with my nose. So when I go on the South Shore, I could just walk in.
Anyway, enough of her beach loving self. Look, you see my picture.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Tell you, my picture. is a reflection of where we're from. That is Pembroke dumping back on me. Marsh Folly. That's Carla and I. So, we'll try to get her to come back home in a second. Let's get through some more comments. Then we'll welcome the Chief Executive of the Bermuda Regulatory Authority, Mr. Denton Williams, on. Tamara Richardson says, also, what message does this send to good corporate citizens who pay their fair share to respective workers, redundancy and otherwise? You have small businesses that went out of business who follow through on obligations. James Birch, redundancy is based on the collective bargaining agreement for everyone. Faith DeRosa Gilt says, I would think the company should pay government directly since government is paying employees. So lots of opinions on that. So I don't know. We'll ask some questions for you, and if we get some answers, we'll definitely come back and share. Let's answer this question before we bring Mr. Williams in. I always wonder why you have a cloudy pick instead. In our neighborhood, we create the sunny days. We don't wait for Mother Nature to give them to us.
Bullet.
Yeah. But look, thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, if you haven't already, share the link, start a watch party. Thanks again to those watching on channel 82. We're going to get to the conversation right now about the 5G public consultation with Mr. Denton Williams, the Chief Executive of the Regulatory Authority. Let's welcome him to the show. Hello, sir. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning. I think I was muted. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, first off, thank you for taking the time to do this. This is a tough time for so many people because it's early, and but we appreciate you. There's been a lot of talk. We have a bit of time, but there's been a lot of talk about 5G. So I am so happy that we have an expert like yourself to come and not calm the nerves, but educate people on what's being done as far as the public consultation. But before we even get into that, just for those who don't know, what is the role of the regulatory authority?
Sure, thank you. It's my pleasure. And good morning, Bermuda. So the regulatory authority is the authority that has been created by an act of parliament to regulate sectors that are designated to us. So initially, we had the telecoms or electronic communications sector designated to the RA, and that has been in effect for since 2013. And then the electricity sector. We recently have been made aware, let's put it that way, but we actually participated in development of legislation for regulation of submarine cables. And the idea there is to encourage submarine cables to come to Bermuda to further our economic development. So we regulate those sectors in an economic sense. We're not an environmental regulator, but we do keep abreast of things that are going on that might impact the economics as a result of as an example, environmental impacts. So that's generally what we do in very, very broad strokes. But as you can imagine, each sector has a lot of nuance and detail.
Got it.
So, Mr. Williams, talking about 5G, now over the years, we've seen 3G, we've seen 4G, and then there's this resistance, not just in Bermuda, but worldwide for 5G. Why is that? Why is that so?
Well, actually, this isn't unique. What's different this time is that we have much more people connected by the internet, frankly. So people can discuss things that concern them a lot more easily. There were concerns with the other generations of technologies as well. And there have been studies since which with this technologies to show that nothing really happened. But we don't want to be dismissive about the public's concern. So what we've done is that we last year we put in our work plan a segment called an RF study, a radio frequency study, and that was intended to specifically deal with this issue. And we had anticipated this, knowing that there were concerns globally around the further use of radio frequency. So we had planned to do it already. And then during the course of the last year, we started licensing new telecom providers. And during that licensing process, several concerns were raised locally. So we decided that we would, in a step to be very cautious, put a temporary moratorium in place, and we have prohibited the deployment of 5G. So there is absolutely no 5G in Bermuda at this time. And once we conclude the public consultation and the Board of Commissioners of the RA makes its decision, if our 5G is allowed to go forward, then it will be at that time. But currently there is no 5G in Bermuda, and it's not allowed to be deployed. It's actually illegal if you were to deploy it right now.
Is there a major difference in emittance of wireless technology radiation with 5G?
Actually, ironically, 5G in some scenarios it's not a single type of technology. It's a class of technologies. So it ranges from kind of traditional stuff like it looks very similar to 4G to higher frequency radio frequency spectrum, which has lower power output. So it actually, in some scenarios, can result in less power. I want to explain that a little differently. So the traditional cell phone model is that you have a cell phone tower that could be several miles away from you, and it broadcasts to you and everybody else. And your handset, when it receives a signal and wants to send something back, has to broadcast or transmit, I should say, back to that tower. One of the things that's different potentially about one of the scenarios with 5G is that because it may have antennas that are smaller, like Wi-Fi hotspots, they can transmit at lower power output, and your handset, which is the most important part of this equation, responds with lower power output. So in that particular scenario, you can actually see decreased exposure, but it depends exactly on what's being deployed and where the actual deployment is an important part too.
Now, one of the suggestions from Bermuda Advocates for Safe Technology and Dr. Wingate, they've said that the FCC guidelines in Bermuda are antiquated and they need to be updated. What is the RA's stance on this?
Well, the RA has, and this is exactly why we've opened the public consultation. So the RA has actually solicited input. So I don't want to prejudice any decisions that may be made. But what I will say is that any evidence or views should be submitted to the public consultation. The consultation itself actually has 5 questions in it, and those questions ask specifically, if do you believe, as an example, that the FCC standards are appropriate for Bermuda, and if not, why not? And then what is a suitable alternative? So it's not just a generic. Just tell me how you feel about it emotionally. It's a very technical document. It's very solution oriented. So we encourage people to go and give their written submissions where possible. The consultation opened on October 23rd and was originally going to close on the 23rd of November, but we since which extended it to December 7th to give some additional time. You understand through the community that there was some interest in extending it. We did not actually get a formal request for an extension, but we did see it in the media, so we decided that we'd give some extra time. And we're also making our first baby steps, and we are hosting a virtual event that will allow up to 1,000 people to participate. And it's an information gathering session on November 19th at 12:30 p.m. till 2 p.m. And the idea is that you can basically do what you would do on the public consultation, but you can verbally present to a special advisory panel that the Board of Commissioners has convened. So we have a global panel of panelists that are going to consider this information, and they have resources available that if they need to go get more information or more expertise, they are allowed to do that. But we don't take this very lightly. We understand that there have been some grave concerns regarding 5G. So we've decided that we will tackle it head on. We're not going to shy away from the issue, and then make the best decision possible for Bermuda, and then go from there.
Indeed. You kind of answered my next question, which was going to be what the process looks like. So you said it began October 23rd. You extended it November 19th. It'll be another a virtual. It'll be virtual, right?
Yes.
November 19th.
Virtual event, yes.
Okay. But I want to go to a question from the audience. Nachiko Trot says, will the public see all of the comments submitted during the consultation process?
Yeah, so in every public consultation we have, we publish our comments. So you can even go on our website now and look at some of our older ones. You can see what everyone said. You can see what sectoral providers have said. You can see what end users have said, even third parties. So we always provide all of the comments is completely about transparency. So we provide that, and even the virtual event will be recorded, and the recording will be available on our website.
Alrighty.
Now, you talked about the expert panel, but what happens if all the findings come back that 5G is not plausible in Bermuda? Will there be even business fallout? What type of fallout would there be from 5G not being implemented or introduced?
Well, I can't forecast the future, but if the Board of Commissioners, because it's not just the panel's decision, the panel makes a recommendation to the board, and then the Board of Commissioners makes the ultimate decision. If the board makes a decision that, let's just as a thought experiment, say that 5G is prohibited, or aspects of it, I don't know. But let's say it's prohibited, what we could find is that people that come to Bermuda for business or for travel, whatever, may have to rely on 4G. That may be perfectly fine, because today 4G is perfectly adequate for what most people do here, which is like stream video and use social media, etc. Going forward, that may not be the case, because eventually these legacy networks get retired, and what we could find is Bermuda, one, in a real sense, becoming more obsolete on electronic communications, and then in another sense, you could also see Bermuda being perceived as being obsolete. So that also can be a detractor from attracting innovation and investment. So we do have to strike a balance, but we're not going to compromise on the public's health.
Indeed. We have another question from the audience. Kathy Bromby asked, we have had fiber cables for how long? Is this being enhanced with 5G?
Well, that's a great question. Fiber optics have been in Bermuda for a very, very long time. We certainly have had submarine cables with fiber optics for a long time, for decades. We've had fiber optic cables in between businesses and in businesses for decades as well. What we're now seeing is fiber optics to the residential and small business level being rolled out primarily by two carriers. And fiber optics will be integral to not only 5G, but any other telecoms, because the amount of throughput it provides, there'll be plenty of usage of that. But fiber optics themselves have no EMF, no radio frequency issues associated with them.
Alrighty. Another question from the audience. It looks like Nachiko Trot says, what studies from experts with no conflict of interest has the RA used to demonstrate there are no health and environmental issues from 5G? Not sure if that falls under you.
Yeah, that's not the purpose of what we're doing here. Our purpose is that, and I'll speak to our legislation a little bit. So our legislation requires us to lean forward, I would say, towards innovation and progress. So our inclination is not to stagnate. So what we've done is pause our normal, I would say, forward lean, and allow the opportunity for people to present their evidence why we should not do it. We will certainly review evidence, but we're not a clinical research facility. That's not what we do. We rely on the clinical work that has been done by others. And this is more secondary research than primary research.
Indeed. Honestly, from this conversation, I must say, I've only read like on your website what you're planning on doing, but to be honest with you, have not been interested enough to learn about 5G. So I couldn't even give an honest opinion. You just feel like there are so many people that are setting up YouTube channels, and either way, just people taking what they're saying as expert advice. But what I will do now is definitely try to figure out what are the pros and cons that people are putting out there. And I promise you, I won't just use any and everybody on YouTube. I will try to look for sound advice to see what it's all about, because I think, if we're having a public consultation like this, it's important that everyone kind of has some sort of understanding of what's actually going on.
But I have a question though. I'm reverting to when I asked you about the fallout, right? And you gave the hypotheticals. If I'm listening to that, it almost sounds, and I know it's not you saying it as such or the RA, but it almost sounds like 5G is inevitable, because if we're always talking about staying on the cutting edge of technology, staying in the forefront, etc., it's almost like whether it's this year, whether it's 3 years from now, 5G is going to come, because if not, it could potentially cost us as a country financially.
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily inevitable. My challenge, I guess, for us to think about is that you could skip a generation. Maybe 6G or 7G might be something that's more palatable than 5G. But our major business partners, I think we need to look at this with clear eyes. Our major business partners are using 5G, and that's where they're moving very aggressively. So I think we need to be cognizant of what we do and what we're considering with all the facts on the table and the consequences of them. It's one thing to make a decision based on how, and I'll say this, I'm a resident, I live here, right? I have no desire to expose myself, my wife, my children, my loved ones and friends to something that I believe is dangerous. So I wouldn't sign up for that at all. But I'm also mindful that we should not rush to a decision, which is exactly why we've kind of paced ourselves on this. We shouldn't rush to a decision that may or may not have a negative outcome, but certainly will have a negative economic outcome. So we have to be clear and sure that the decision we make is the best decision going forward. And that requires information. And, it's not also necessarily a binary thing. Do we need to, and this is why we have the questions in the consultation, do we need to have it or not have it? Or is there ability to monitor it? Is there an ability to reduce the levels? And that's what the question about the FCC standards is about. It's not binary. And unfortunately, sometimes that's the perspective on many controversial issues that people take, is that it's either this or that, where sometimes there's a way to navigate these challenges.
Yeah, there's an in between. Go ahead, Carla.
So we have a lot of everyday people listening right now. You just said, if 5G may not go through, but it may be 6 or 7G. And I swear I heard people screaming. Is it not safe to assume that as the Gs go up, that they're more potent or powerful? So if people are screaming over 5G, wouldn't they have a meltdown on 7?
No, I don't believe so. So the nature of almost all of it, I'll use computers as an example, is that actually you're getting more performance out of less energy. So computers are a great example of it. I'm using my laptop to connect right now. A computer that did this 50 years ago frankly, didn't even exist. That kind of computing power didn't exist. But they were computers that were used back then, were the size of 50, 60 years, were the size of rooms, right? So they could consume lots of kilowatts of power. And now we've got down to something where I'll pick it up to show you, use my laptop, that is running off a little battery using a few watts of energy. And electronic communications exactly the same way. And the reason is because people have to pay for the electricity. So they want to reduce their power output because it reduces their electricity bill. So they have no incentive to make the next generation less efficient. And if you look at your cell phones, each provider is trying to get more life out of those batteries, right? So they're pushing the engineers to make more efficient equipment. So it's not more power with the next generations, it's actually higher efficiency. So you get more product, if you will, out of the same energy or lower energy footprint. And it's the energy that's really the concern that people have.
Okay.
Thank you for that. That was good information to have. As far as the public consultation, can you just remind folks where they can participate, how they can participate?
Sure. So all of the information is on our website. It's www.ra.bm. For the written consultation, it's open now. It opened again on the 23rd of October, and it closes on the 7th of December. The virtual event is on the 19th of November at 12:30 and finishes at 2 p.m. And we want to encourage people to register for it by the 16th. And that's on our website as well. And we have a limited number of speaking slots just because of time. So if someone has an interest in verbally making their submission to the consultation, they can do so if they go and register, and we have space to accommodate them.
All right, Mr. Denton Williams, the Chief Executive of the Bermuda Regulatory Authority. Thank you so much for sharing the information you did, and hopefully we'll get some of our audience to participate in this consultation process. Just to let you know, there's a lot of things that your office does. If there's anything that you want to come by and share with our audience again, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. We'll certainly be back.
All right, my friend. Have a great one.
Take care.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Always a hot topic, 5G. I don't, I've read so many things about it, but again, I don't know who the authors are. In terms of when I say I don't know who the authors are, I don't know what the backgrounds necessarily are, because not every outlet gives you that person's background. And then obviously there's so many videos about stuff on 5G.
It's funny, just up from me, someone was like, oh, they're building a 5G tower and this is going to happen. Everyone's going to get headaches.
Mhm.
For me personally, when people have these extreme conspiracy theories, I tend to tune out, because I'm just like, you're just taking it way too far. Like, I've seen WhatsApp videos of people pushing them over and mashing them up in the UK. But I just have to stay. I read actually the paper on the site yesterday, and I was like, this is pretty interesting. So I just think we as a community just need to become more engaged so that we can become more informed, instead of just running with no matter what side we stand on of any topic, really.
Indeed. And I think, that's why I'm saying the information I have is from people who have feelings. It seems emotional and not necessarily fact-based. So I usually read entrepreneur.com, Business Inc., Business Insider, and Forbes, various things like that. I have not come across an article on 5G, probably because I wasn't looking for one on those sites as of yet. But who's to say those articles may not favor one side or the other anyway? That's just the way news outlets work these days. They tend to favor one side or the other. We have the Daily Play coming up. Don't forget, tomorrow there is no show, folks. So tomorrow, we're giving you the day off. Obviously, it's a holiday for many people, Remembrance Day in Bermuda and the UK, and Veterans Day in the US. So we will be back on Thursday.
It's not a holiday here, though, interestingly.
What, Remembrance Day?
Yeah, it's not a holiday.
Oh, okay. It's observed? Like, they don't have the parade and stuff?
I would say no, because it's school tomorrow. So
okay.
I think they do is that when they do the wreath? I'm so ridiculous. The poppies, the red and black things, yes. Right? They do lay a wreath not too far from here, but it is a school day tomorrow.
It's a work day for me here, but I mean, it's still Veterans Day for some. Yeah. So I would still have to work, but we're going to give you all the day off. See, now that's how I say we're not taking the day off, Carla. We have the Daily Play coming up though, Carla. Here you go. Today, we were talking about 5G technology and whatnot. So here's the question. Help out, folks. What year is considered the official birth year of the internet? Just the year.
19.
She's got it there. She's got 19 right, folks.
Shut up. 1968. Nope. Okay. By the look on your 1989.
Nope.
Then lower. 85.
Nope.
Can we have a span here? I went to uni in 98 and they still had Internet Explorer. So 1991.
Nope. Go back.
90.
January 1st, 1983 is considered the official birthday of the internet. Prior to this, the various computer networks did not have a standard way to communicate with each other. A communications protocol was established called Transfer Control Protocol / Internet Work Protocol, TCP/IP. Now, keep in mind, this is what's considered the official birth year of the internet. It's not saying when the internet was invented. So
I got you.
1983. Look at Mr. Google the answer there and give it. But
It's so unoriginal.
yeah, but good try. Good try. Yep. Yep. I think Nachiko got it. Yeah. And yeah, so I think everyone was close. What you got some inspiration for us, Carla?
Being fearless isn't being 100% not fearful. It's terrified, but you jump anyway. Taylor Swift.
Chuck Taylor Swift making it to the Daily Hour. Her quotes are better than her dance moves. You seen her dance? I'm like, girl, you better keep singing. You ain't Beyonce.
She claims it.
Yeah, they do. Any final words before we head out for the holiday and come back Thursday?
I saw
from the vaccine to the government loan and then 5G. Go ahead.
Oh, real quick. BBC just did a breaking news to say that in some schools in the UK, universities, they will be making the vaccine available November 30th so that university students can travel home. You can read it for yourself. It just popped through. That's bothersome.
Oh.
But I saw a tweet yesterday with a young lady saying, Chevelle, all the media has forgotten about you. People have forgotten about you, and we haven't. And it really hurt me for her just to think that someone needs to say something, guys. It's been too long, 9 months almost, 7 months. Someone has to come forth, or someone who knows someone. Just say something and give Chevelle's loved ones and friends peace.
Yeah, I did see a tweet yesterday as well, and I think we do our best to keep that alive as far as us being a medium, to keep the conversation going. Outside of that, I'm not quite sure what we can do other than have the conversation in regards to just ensuring that she's brought home. We find out what happened. It's bothersome to live in a community where something like this can happen to someone and no one know anything, say anything. So I agree. Let's I don't know. We did an entire episode about Chevelle's disappearance last month. So I concur. I agree with you. Let's continue to have the conversation and see what we can get out of it. Continue to talk about it when you're in your networking pools, whether you're at your bar having a girls' weekend, at the football game. I wonder what happened to her. Oh, let's talk. Conversations can lead to action. You never know what someone may know. I mean, someone may, you know what? That night I did see someone, da 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 da. You never know what you may find out through a conversation. So let's keep talking. Let's continue the conversations about her disappearance until we can bring her some answers. All right. About the vaccine, again, Carla just stated, looks like BBC News is reporting it'll be available November 30th. I don't have an opinion on it, surprisingly. Just too early to say. But keep your eyes on that one. The government loan, that's another one. Some valid questions coming from people in the audience today about that. Should the company have to pay government back directly rather than paying the employees and expecting them? What's the history of government collecting outstanding payments? So a lot to think about off of the back of today's episode. Carla, on that note, I'll miss you tomorrow. I'll miss you. I will.
Who are the people in your neighborhood? Malik.
I think it's crossed. Anyway, we appreciate you. We love you. And we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you. Not tomorrow, but when, Carla?
Thursday.
On Thursday. Peace out, my friends. Oops, wrong one. You thought we were coming into the show. We're leaving.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House. All recorded episodes and highlights can be found at thedailyhour.com. Stay connected with us by following us at The Daily Hour on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.